Well, did you wonder how Dave managed to get it to thunder right as he finished speaking? People are listening. I have a question. How many people were involved last November, 2 years ago, in the political process? How many people were involved 2 years ago? How many people were involved for the first time over the past 2 years? Raise your hand. How many people remember what they did last November? How they voted? Where they were when they voted? And remembered the consequences that that act of voting would have for the next 2 years? Do you remember when President Obama said that he wouldn't increase taxes on people over a certain level? Do you remember that? Now, do you remember what's happened? They've already increased taxes. There's another tax with the health care bill going into place on July 1st. Are we going to remember in November when we vote? Yeah. Remember when Barack Obama said he believed in government transparency, that they would put bills online for 5 days to make sure the people of this state knew what was happening. Do you remember what they did? Are we going to remember in November what they did? Do you remember when Barack Obama said, we are going to cut spending? Do you remember what they've done? Are we going to remember in November what they have done? Ladies and gentlemen, we have a choice this November. It's a choice about our first and our core responsibilities, our core principles of limited government. Absolutely. Fiscal responsibility, and that when we send people to Washington, D.C., we're sending them there to represent us, the people in Loveland, Colorado, in Larimer County, throughout the 4th Congressional District, and the great state of Colorado. It is about our children and our grandchildren. It is about making sure that they will have the same opportunities, the same chances that we have had to build greater successes in our lives and to further the opportunities for their own families. It's taken less than 600 days for this Congress to increase the debt to nearly over 100% of our economy, the public debt to increase over 100% the public debt of the GDP. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot sustain the level of debt, the level of spending that this Congress is putting on every single one of us. Will we remember that in November? Yeah. Will we remember when they say that we were for standing up for our liberties, our principles? Are we going to hold people accountable this November? Yeah. Are we going to ensure that our children and our grandchildren have the same opportunities that you and I have had? Yeah. You know, when you come to Yuma, Colorado, many of you have I've talked to many of you about this before. In Yuma, Colorado, there's a little piece of concrete on 2nd Avenue and Main Street. It says J.A.S. Gardner and Son, 1910. That was the site of my great-great-granddad's hardware store. That was the site where my family moved over nearly 100 years ago to build success and opportunity for their family. With the level of spending, the level of debt, the freedoms that we are losing, I worry about whether or not our families will have the same opportunity that my great-great-granddad had in 1910. The choice in November cannot be more clear. We must act this year to restore the greatness of our country, to ensure the liberties for our children and grandchildren, and to once again restore the greatness of this country. And the question I have for you is, will you stand with us? Will you stand with me, those candidates who are speaking today and throughout the state of Colorado, as we work to once again restore the individual liberties of our great nation? Will you stand with me to make sure that the United States continues to be a country that stands up and fights for its individual liberties instead of fighting against them? Ladies and gentlemen, we have an opportunity this November to again get back to those fundamental core liberties that this nation is about. And I hope that you will join me as we work to take this country back. My name is Cory Gardner. I'd be honored to have your support this November. And more importantly, let's stand up again for the greatness of the United States and ensure that in December of 2010, we remember November of 2010. We remember November of 2010 as the day we made sure we stood up for liberty and the greatness of the United States of America. Thank you for being here today. And in liberty, let's make